Greetings ladies and gents and welcome to Rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! The BuzzFeed of Yu-Gi-Oh! The topic of today's video is horribly difficult summoning conditions that just don't pay off in the end. Be it bad stats of a monster, low protection or just a bad effect, the horribleness of the summoning condition is measured by the amount of effort needed to summon it compared to the card's actual usefulness. With that said, let's immediately move on to number 10, Necros of Exodia, Exodia Necros. This is a level 4 Nomi monster, not something you see every day. This is also a really shitty level 4 Nomi monster, which is something you barely ever see. It requires you to have all 5 pieces of Exodia in the graveyard and use the card Contract with Exodia to special summon it from the hand. Not the deck or graveyard, just the hand. So it's basically a really bad ritual spell. But hey, maybe the effect will make up for it, right? Well, it can be destroyed by battle or spell and trap card effects, so I guess it's safe from Raigeki and Torrential. During each of your standby phases it gains 500 attacks, so it takes at least 4 turns until it turns into a decent beater. Oh, and it gets destroyed if one Exodia piece is removed from the graveyard. Obviously we're looking at an old relic from a time long forgotten. I remember Gozaburo Kaiba summoning this a bit easier by using Painful Choice to send Exodia limbs to the graveyard, but we don't really have Painful Choice now, do we? Its protection was decent at best back in the day, and yet still nobody played it because it's just way too weak in terms of stats to actually do anything. All in all, it's a gimmicky Exodia variant that barely works, and it's slightly outclassed by a tad less horrible Exodia variant, that being Exodius, or, this guy they just revealed and looks to actually be playable. Number 9 is taken by yet another Egyptian themed card, Spirit of the Pharaoh. This guy's summoning condition is the following. Activate the trap card for a sarcophagus. Have it live until your opponent's end phase. Place the second sarcophagus on the field during that end phase. Have them both live until your opponent's end phase. Place the third sarcophagus on the field during that end phase, have them all live until your main phase. Congratulations, you can now summon Spirit of the fucking Pharaoh. And what is the benefit of this? Check this shit out. When he's summoned, you can special summon up to 4 level 2 or lower normal zombie type monsters from your graveyard. If I need to repeat myself. Up to 4 level 2 or lower normal zombie type monsters from the graveyard. Other than being the most stupidly specific revival card ever printed, this literally has no practical use in any remotely viable deck ever made. Unless you really want 2 gachis out on the field, and I suppose there are far better ways of going about that. I remember this guy being used in the GX anime to summon pairs of goddamn Pharaoh Servant and Pharaonic Protector. Why not just play fucking Clown Zombie Beatdown while you're at it? Unless you build a deck completely focused on getting this guy out, which is still not gonna be very good, he's completely useless wherever you put him. At number 8 is the third Egyptian monster in the list in a row, the extremely awkwardly named Fuji. To get this bad boy out, you need to do the following. Summon Great Desert, be it a tribute or a special summon, have him destroy exactly 2 monsters by battle, then during the main phase tribute him to summon Fuji from, well, anywhere. Admittedly, he himself isn't too bad of a card as he negates and destroys any spell and trap that targets him. Once per turn he can be flipped face down, and when he is flipped face up you can revive a zombie from the graveyard, and his stats are pretty good as well. But the tedium of actually getting him out on the field is unbearable. They expect you to tribute summon a monster with 1900 attack who will stay on the field long enough to destroy 2 monsters by battle. That may not sound like much, but unless you're actively running Blackguard and the opponent simply just isn't gonna let it happen. If you try running a zombie deck with these 2 splashed in, they will brick your hands more often than actually making it possible to summon Richie. And speaking of Richie, Konami of America, for the love of God, is the word Lich really so scary to kids that you had to go out of your way and pull another Jerry fucking Beans man with this card's name? I sincerely believe no angry soccer moms would send you hate mail if you kept its original Japanese name, Nosferatu Lich. Jesus Christ. At number 7 is the card that crushed my hopes and dreams as a kid, because seeing that big ass Megazord fusion made me hype as hell, and then it turned out to be the worst thing ever, and his name is Supervikroid Stealth Union. It requires 4 very specific fusion materials that wouldn't be very good in any other situation: Truckroid, Expressroid, Drillroid and Stealthroid. It has a pretty huge 3600 body, deals piercing damage, and once per turn it can equip any face-up monster on the field to itself, except machine type monsters for some reason, and if it does, it can attack all monsters Asura style. So, what's the problem? When it attacks, it loses half its attack points during the damage step. I'm not quite sure who thought it was a good idea to have a 3600 attack fusion monster that requires 4 non-generic materials to have this kind of asinine limitation. What the actual hell are you even going to do with an 1800 attacker with no protection of any kind that made you go at least -4 to be summoned? Maybe you used the Exodia connection zone to make it safe from destruction effects? Well, good for you! That only required you to have 5 insanely specific and barely searchable cards in your hand or alive on the field. But hey, it was a thing in one episode of GX, so at least it made for good trade bait back in the day. Yeah, I know I sound like an asshole, but I'm just trying to look at the positives here, people. It ain't easy, and especially not with cards like this. And what's with the name? Stealth Union? Guy looks about as stealthy as the new Thief. I know, it's a good one, thank you, it really is a good one, thank you very much. Speaking of crappy combining robots, here's an even worse one. The big bad Machina Force. You need to use the card called Commander Covington, yeah I bet it's the first time you hear of this one, to tribute Machina Defender, Soldier and Sniper from your side of the field to summon him from the hand or deck. Whereas you could at least keep the 4 Roid monsters in your hand to use polymerization to summon the previous card, this piece of shit requires you to have 4 monsters with really shitty stats on the field that barely support each other in any way. Well, Defender can search out Covington when flipped, Soldier can special summon a Machina monster from the hand if you control no other monsters, Sniper prevents others from being attacked. Okay, let's pretend for a moment that these 4 can easily get out of the field and survive long enough for you to summon Machina Force. So, what does it do? Well, admittedly it does have a pretty gargantuan 4600 body, which is very unusual for a main deck monster, although you also need to pay 1000 life points whenever you declare an attack with it. You can also tribute it to summon Sniper, Defender and Soldier from the graveyard. So in terms of combat usefulness, it's slightly better than Stealth Union because of the massive attack value, but I think its summoning condition pretty much makes it even to the Roid. Beyond Gear Frame or Gear Gigantex, you won't exactly have an easy time getting these 4 out in the field, and even then you're going -4 for a monster with a big body and 0 protection. It's just all bark and no bite. And considering giant robots can't bark or bite, it's bad. It's just bad, I guess. At number 5 is a member of a beloved meta archetype and a card that nobody sane uses in that archetype, Life Fiber of Cow Jesus. It's a level 10 ritual monster that of course needs to be summoned with the Necro's ritual spell, however it can only be summoned from the hand, so no cycle shenanigans, and you have to use 3 monsters with different types from the field, so no kaleidoscope shenanigans, and then you can just banish everything from the field and both graveyards. So why did I pick Life Fiber of Cow Jesus over the actual Cow Jesus? Because Cow Jesus isn't a part of an archetype, therefore you can't fuck yourself up by summoning it, whereas Life Fiber of Cow Jesus is a very gimmicky card that completely goes against the nature of the deck by banishing the graveyard very much important to you. There are very few combinations of monsters with different types that equal level 10 that Necros can actually use to bring this thing out, so if you ever in your life feel like running it, do it for the discard effect. By discarding it along with the Necros spell card, you can prevent the opponent from using the extra deck for one main phase. Or don't be an idiot and just fucking run vanities. Moving on, at number 4 is the majestic Mirage Knight, and boy do you have to go through a fucking ordeal to summon this guy. Alright, so step 1. Summon Flame Swordsman by using polymerization to fuse Flame Manipulator and Masaki the legendary swordsman, 2 really shitty vanilla monsters. Step 2. Have Dark Magician in your hand or out on the field, use polymerization to fuse him with Flame Swordsman to get Dark Flare Knight, a monster somehow weaker than one of its fusion materials. And step 3, have him get destroyed by battle to summon Mirage Knight from your hand or deck. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that was a -7 in the best possible case. So, what about the Knight himself? He's a 2800 beater with a built-in Honest effect, so that's not so bad, right? Except for the fact that during the end phase of the turn in which he battled, he gets banished. Who the fuck came up with this cryptic shit? This is the card game equivalent of the Super Mario Sunshine completion bonus. Good job, you worked your ass off, here's a dick slap to the face. Why would you ever put in this many resources in a card with this kind of horrible limitation? Considering the effort you need to make to pull it off, this thing needs at least a cannot be targeted by card effects clause and that banishing bumfuckery removed. And yes, I realize it's an anime card that Yami and Joey used to defeat fucking 5-god dragon of all things, and they printed it to fill up pack space, but that doesn't excuse it from being complete shit. Alright, you knew this one was coming. At number 3 is a card that takes 3 big tributes. Gate Guardian. He is the ultimate warrior in terms of attack and defense. To summon him you need to tribute Sanga, Kazujin and Sujin. How do you summon those? Of course, you summon each of them by tributing 2 monsters. 2 for each, 3 for Gate Guardian. Good job, you just went -9 to summon a big beater with no effects to speak of. Even the monsters you tributed for him are better, for fuck's sake. Yeah, I guess you could make this a bit easier by using Pendulum since the pieces are all level 7, but for the longest time there was no other way of summoning Gate Guardian beyond tributing everything ever. Now his only use is getting equipped to Zubaba General, who then becomes the ultimate warrior in terms of— oh fuck it, I'm not doing it again. Oh boy, there sure are a lot of anime cards on this list. And here's another one! Armityle the Chaos Phantom. It's a level 12 fusion monster that's summoned by tributing the following. Raviel, Lord of Phantasms, who requires tributing 3 Fiend-type monsters to be summoned. Hamon, Lord of Striking Thunder, who requires sending 3 face-up continuous spell cards you control to the graveyard. And Yuria, Lord of Searing Flames, who requires sending 3 face-up continuous trap cards to the graveyard. What an investment! Surely by making you go into this much minus it has to make up for all the lost cards, right? Well, here's the effect. It cannot be destroyed by battle, and during your turn he has 10,000 attack. That's it, that's the whole effect. No more token spawning and attack gain for Raviel. No more burn damage from Hamon. No more destroying back row from Yuria. All this guy is capable of is having 10,000 attack during your turn. And 0 during the opponent's turn. You know, the anime version actually had a really cool effect. During your turn you could switch control of the card to the opponent until the end phase, and then banish all monsters they control. But no, we just get a 10,000 beater because yay, big numbers. Trade bait. And I'm gonna give them credit. 10,000 is the largest amount ever printed on any card effect. Just watch out for that magic cylinder. Alright, before heading off to number 1, let's cover some honorable mentions. Dark Sage for relying on the sheer luck of a coin toss, Venominaga for requiring a very specific trap card and the effect destruction of a very specific monster, and Masked Beast Desgardius for requiring you to tribute one of the 2 monsters nobody ever in their life heard of. Alright, so everyone and their mother saw this one coming, but until they come up with a more ridiculous idea for summoning a monster, the Grand Supreme King of Impossible Summoning is perfectly ultimate Great Moth. You can't argue with the classics, people. Most of you should know how it's done, but just in case, let's cover the summoning condition. Summon Petite Moth, a small, frail vanilla monster that can't really do anything. Equip it with Cocoon of Evolution from your hand, now its defense becomes 2000. On your second turn after you did this, you can tribute that Petite Moth to summon Larvae Moth. But why the fuck would you ever do that? The thing has 500 attack and no effects. On the 4th turn, you can tribute him to summon Great Moth, a 2600 beater with no effects, and on the 6th you can tribute him to summon Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, a 3500 beater with no effects. Just a reminder, this counts only your turns, so in fact it's actually 12 turns in total you need to wait to summon this guy, and that's if he's in your hand by the time you need to. Because if you miss the turn, you can't do jack shit. To summarize, you need to keep a vanilla monster with 2000 defense alive for exactly 12 turns and have the big bad moth ready in your hand by the time turn 12 starts, or all effort goes to waste. Konami, instead of putting out really terrible support for Buster Blade or BLS and such, why not remake this masterpiece? Come on, I believe in you, I'm sure you can make Great Moth Turbo to be meta. I know I'd play it. Hell, I'd even run 3 Pyro Clock of Destiny just to do it. Do it! Give us the moth back. The people want it, Konami. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Ranked and Yu-Gi-Oh! Sorry for waiting a bit as I am a bit caught up with college work. Although I'm not gonna bother you with that, so I'm just gonna say, please subscribe.